Welcome to Quick Take. I'm Susie Tomanchuk along with James Capps. How are you, James?
I am great.
Woohoo!
You are just super full of energy today.
I am full of energy. Well, let me tell you, last week I had a great session with an executive team around important and critical. And I thought this would be a great topic to talk about because I was brought in because there's too much going on in the business.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody feels like, how do we have any focus at all? I don't even have time. I've never spent so many hours. There's just all of these themes. And what was interesting to me and kind of the lens I took on it is also to look at how do you show up as an individual and as a leader under pressure?
Oh, sure.
Because our stress behaviors really dictate how we move through, and we need to learn and adjust especially in pressure situations.
Right. Yeah, I think that's such an interesting topic too, because I think that people get caught up in the moment. And I think that, it's always interesting to see the people that are organized become unorganized under pressure. The people that are thoughtful become unthoughtful under pressure.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to take a look at that and understand that, things will go wrong, and you have to figure out what's going to happen when they do.
Yeah. And so I looked up some of those to be some more specific. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today. The research shows what happens to leaders. They micromanage. They become like boss versus coach because they don't have time. Just tell you what to do.
No, I don't have time. Yeah, you do have time. It's faster if I just boss them around.
Exactly.
That drives me crazy.
So crazy. And then they do things, the research around stress says that you go to something that's easy for you. So that might not be moving the business forward.
Exactly
but it feels like you're making progress. So
right.
Paying attention to what happens to executives under pressure, especially in the boardroom, right? And this could happen. You could have a low stakes situation, and then all of a sudden there's something that happens that creates this stress.
Right.
So what happens so you don't make blunders, if you will?
And I think the key is, as an executive team, you have to take a look at the situation, right? Certainly you have to talk to your folks and help them work through those stress behaviors. And that's a coaching element. But look, at the end of the day, your company will go through a crisis situation, your organization, your vertical, your department. And the key, what I want to talk about today is how do you turn that crisis into an opportunity? Good friend of ours always said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And so that is, I think, the responsibility of a leader is to say, all right, let's stop the bleeding, but let's also take advantage of the situation. And I think that having that mindset is so important as leaders, run into situations. I think the reality is you're going to have a crisis. Just what are you going to do when it happens? So I think that kind of it's super important that we talk about those things.
Yeah, and our own stress behaviors, when we know those, it's kind of like you have to take a breath.
Yes.
And you have to do it. But as a leader, it's taking that breath and going, okay, I'm responsible here.
Right.
How do I reframe this? So that's what I'm looking at your tips today.
Yeah, I think that's number one is you have to reframe the situation. I think that, there's plenty of examples. I think Amazon was one of my favorites when the .com bubble crashed. That was a huge opportunity for innovation. I think that, I've worked with companies who had a product recall, and they were able to take advantage of the press and the attention towards their product to say, hey, you know what, we are going to change the way we build that product and increase quality. And that really allowed them to turn the way that that disaster changed the way that people thought about their product. Just that reframing can really make a big difference.
Oh, I love that because it's a way to trigger you to go, okay, right now I need to do this. So reframe it for you and then articulate that to the team is like your way of, all right, here we go.
Right. And I think it also allows people an opportunity to work on something that is moving the business forward, right? So often you're in triage mode. And there is triage that has to be done. But if we can say, look, we're going to do this triage, we're going to stop the bleeding, but then we're going to take advantage of this, we're going to reframe it and do it this way. That's a much more effective use of your team. And I think that gives people an opportunity to engage.
Oh, that's really good. Okay, I love it. Number one, reframing. What's the second one?
And the second one is really on top, built on what I was just saying, is in those crisis situations, it is now your opportunity to find that hidden potential within your team. We talk about how people behave under stress. There may be a time in which that stress behavior of one of your leaders is something that you really never appreciated. If you can empower your team to be part of the solution, I think that's incredible. Companies that I know I've worked with have had talent shortages, and when they can't hire, the obvious panic is to do the standard things that you do to, increase salaries, maybe look for different positions at different locations. What if you were to take your leadership team and had them do some sort of decentralized team think and identify ways that they could innovate an outcome that is not just simply hiring more people? This goes back to Simon Says, like, why? You're solving the problem. Let's go back to why we have a problem. Let's get our teams aligned in a different way to help identifying ways that they can be part of the solution.
Oh, so when you said that, this is what I envisioned. Like, you might have one person on your team that has high energy and kind of gets frantic. You might have somebody else that goes to what happened and the negative aspect, but you might have somebody that's calmly going, all right, how do we do this from now?
Right.
And so how do you put a spotlight on them so that they can help rally the group and get them all in the right mindset? Oh, that's super interesting.
Yeah, and I think that it goes back to just being able to, if you can get your team to focus on the problem and allow them to explore their skill sets, that crisis mode could highlight some value. Look, there are people who work really well under crisis. I mean, I think about the people who I've had who have run call centers or run the help desk. They want to go to work every day and have a different problem.
Yeah.
Most of them would rather die than have the same thing. The predictability of their job is something that's important to them. And so if you can find an opportunity like, hey, this person is so great under pressure, let's find a more high pressure function for them to be part of. Or, hey, this person is horrible under pressure, but really good with methods and process. All right, let's do that. So I think during a crisis, find a way to evaluate and find the hidden gems in your leadership.
I think that's good. I also, as a leader, take note of some people that are really challenged, and how do you circle back with them and help start working with them to get them the tools, not to take away. It's like a bonus is don't remember there are other leadership follow-ups that you can do that could have a huge impact on the team moving forward.
Oh my gosh. What a tee up for the third piece of advice I have is no, sorry. That's why we're just so good.
We're such a good team.
Is that really that third one is then take advantage of the growth opportunities for individuals. Maybe this person is weak under pressure because they don't have the technical skills to address this. Maybe they don't have the experience in the financial area to really understand the impacts of this crisis. So remember that this crisis could drive the acknowledgement. This is a learning and growth opportunity. I think that the ability to have that team that grows has to be done with an element of what are the skills that we need. And I think that, if you have a company and a group that has a growth mindset, and I think there's some great articles, HBR articles on having a growth mindset that come to mind here that says, look, this is an opportunity for you to grow. We have identified and seen through stress that there are some weaknesses in our team. Let's fill those voids.
Yeah. I love this because it's kind of like, as a leader, zooming out and watching what's happening and making sure that you're taking advantage of that, because sometimes our egos get in the way too. And as a leader, when we believe we know more than the team, I've worked with somebody that just jumps in and thinks it's okay to become the main point of contact because they're the smartest person in the room. Whew.
Yeah.
You got to be careful.
It's so hard as leaders, as we grow through our career, that, that excellence and that knowledge base is what got you where you are. I think as a senior leader, your job is to surround yourself with really smart people, let them solve all the problems, and then step in when they can't solve a problem. And that doesn't mean that when the house is on fire, that you're the only fireman. you've got to rely on your team. And so, yeah, I think the biggest challenge as a leader is to know when to take a step back and have that point of view. And I think a crisis is a really good test of a leader's ability to do that.
Yeah. And it might not be like all the lights are out and the electricity's gone.
No.
Crises come in a lot of shapes and sizes, if you will.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's just key, that you can identify this as an opportunity. I've had many crises that have come to the table and looked at this as an opportunity. Hey, this is a bad situation. The bleeding has stopped. It's not really that bad, but I'm going to use this as an exercise to do the things I just described. How do I leverage this particular one? Because maybe the crisis is solely within my organization and I can do that. That I can actually highlight the positive outcomes to the board because I have got it under control. Never let any crisis of any size go to waste. Maybe should be our add to that sage piece of wisdom, in that you can, even the smaller crises can be can result in huge outcomes.
All right. So in any size, shape, or whatever the crisis is, what are the 3 tips that leaders need to keep in mind? First,
reframe that challenge. Make sure you haven't realized that problem could become a solution. Second, take advantage of how this impacts your team, and realize that some people could behave better under these circumstances, and really take advantage of the hidden potential that your team may have. And then third, realize this is a learning opportunity, and take a look back through a retrospective, take the growth mindset and say, how can we get better as a team? Where are our shortcomings? So during the next crisis, we're a better team.
Such timely advice, because we're all trying to do more with less.
Absolutely.
And that creates pressure. This was great. Thanks, James.
Fun topic.